Recently, there was a conference in Toronto called Sibos, which you probably haven't heard of before. But it's super important because it's one of the top financial industry conferences in the entire world. All the big banks and financial institutions were there. And guess what? Chainlink was there too. They weren't just some random participant though. No, they were arguably the star of the show. They were there to tell the world about their recent partnership with Swift and how their CCIP protocol can revolutionize the way that banks move value. So when I saw all that unfold, all I could think was, is it time to buy Link? Well, as always, I'm gonna share with you arguments both for and against buying Link, and all you gotta do is give this a watch and let me know which side you find more convincing, alright? Starting with the case for buying Link. And the first reason has to be their groundbreaking, game-changing CCIP protocol. If you haven't looked into Chainlink since like 2017, then you probably still think that they only do oracles. You know, like send price data to DeFi apps. But they actually have a whole suite of products like random number generators, proof of reserves, and smart contract automation. Those are all great, of course. But what I'm really hyped about is their latest product called CCIP, or Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol. At its core, it's a way to move value from one chain to another, along with a message that can trigger outcomes on that receiving chain. So for example, you could transfer tokens across blockchains from a single interface without having to build your own bridge. Or you could create a lending app where you deposit collateral on one chain but borrow assets on another. There's really so many use cases here that if I were to list them all, we'd be here for days. But to truly understand why CCIP is groundbreaking, we gotta go back to the early days of the internet. Back in those days, there were a bunch of separate computers or servers and their own local area networks, or LANs, right? But that really wasn't that interesting or useful because you couldn't communicate with computers outside your own local network. Well, that is until TCP/IP came along and gave them a common standard to connect with each other and form the single global internet.
I sent a message to my doctor asking for a repeat prescription, and he's left the prescription for me in the chemist.
That's when things really exploded in terms of adoption, because as more people and devices joined the network, it became exponentially more useful. That's Metcalfe's law, by the way. Anyways, the reason I bring this up is because the blockchain space is similarly in its early internet phase right now. There are a bunch of different blockchain networks, each with its own apps, liquidity, address formats, you name it. And they kind of function like separate islands. But Chainlink aims to connect them all by offering a global messaging standard so it doesn't matter which blockchain you're on. As long as it's connected through their interoperability standard, you can access any chain or communicate with any dApp out there. So just like how TCP/IP enabled the flow of information across the internet, CCIP now enables the flow of value across blockchains in a seamless and secure manner. But wait, isn't this what Layer 0 or Bridges or all those other interoperability projects are doing? Well, no, because CCIP is better than those for three key reasons. First, it's way more secure. CCIP was designed with security as a top priority. The Chainlink team saw all those multi-million-dollar bridge hacks and they realized that that's a non-starter for any business who may want to use blockchain technology. So they made CCIP with features such as configurable rate limits, time-blocked upgradability, and an active risk management network, all of which can help stop or limit malicious activity. It's not only security though, because CCIP is also better in terms of its flexibility. Other solutions force you to use a specific chain or do settlement in a specific manner. That's not what users want. Users want to choose their own chain and their own way of doing settlement, and Chainlink realized that after talking to users. So they designed CCIP to be a value plus message transfer protocol that can fit neatly into whatever workflow or system their users want. That is freaking amazing. But besides security and flexibility, CCIP also wins in terms of its simplicity. To understand what I mean by that, just listen to Sergey Nazarov, the founder of Chainlink, in a recent interview.
So in today's world, you have to go to your wallet, you have to take the value out, you have to put it in a bridge, you have to use the bridge, then you have to take it out of the bridge, you have to put it in the wallet, and then you can use the application. Whatever you get from the application, you have to go back into your wallet, go back into the bridge, send it over the bridge, take it out of the bridge, then you're done. We have condensed all of that into one transaction, into one step. so that you never need to go to that other chain. You never need to make an address. You never need to make a wallet. You never need to integrate. You never need to understand what it is. You just need to use CCIP. You can even use it from your existing infrastructure that your couple of thousand employees know how to use. You can even define what you want to do in your existing languages and your existing messaging standards. And then you receive the token on your chain.
You get it now? No more layer 0, no more bridges, no more Cosmos or Polkadot. It's all going to be Chainlink, and that's why it's time to buy Link. Now, I hope I didn't give you the impression that CCIP is only for crypto, because its value goes way beyond just DeFi, and the real interest is coming from the big banks of traditional finance. You know how I said that CCIP will connect all the blockchains together? Well, that includes both public and private chains. So all the banks that have their own bank chains can use CCIP to interact with each other as well. And that actually brings me to my second reason to buy Link, which is the fact that Chainlink has been chosen by the banks. Earlier, I mentioned that they're working with SWIFT, which, if you don't know, is an organization that consists of thousands of financial institutions from around the world, and collectively, they process trillions of dollars worth of transactions per day. But besides SWIFT, Chainlink is also working with DTCC, which clears and settles the majority of securities transactions in the United States. I'm talking quadrillions of dollars worth per year. And all of that could touch Chainlink's protocols in the near future. Another one of Chainlink's partners is ANZ, one of the largest financial services companies in Australia and New Zealand. They like Chainlink so much that their banking services lead had this to say about CCIP during the Sibos conference.
And this idea that you said earlier, right, the value and the message moving together is revolutionary.
So the point I want to make here is that tokenization is the future of securities and asset management, and the institutions know it.
I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities.
But they also know that they need a solution like CCIP in order for tokenization to work. That's why they've been working with Chainlink over the past few years to build it from the ground up. And you can tell how happy they were about the initial results based on how they gushed over Chainlink at Sibos. So there's no need for Chainlink to play any games or pretend like they're getting adoption. Ripple. They just gotta bring it home to the finish line and bring these pilot programs into production. By the way, this does make Chainlink better than projects like Ripple or Quant, as the banks have clearly chosen to work with Chainlink instead of them. This also makes Link the one true institutional coin, which is definitely a reason to buy. But wait, that's not all, because another reason to buy is the fact that Chainlink dominates the crypto world. In terms of their price feed service, 51% of all DeFi protocols use it, and that represents almost 70% of all DeFi total value locked. There's a bunch of other stats I could share to convey Chainlink's dominance here, but it's pretty well known that they're effectively a monopoly when it comes to their DeFi services, so I'll just leave it at that. Now, do I prefer more competition so that the space isn't so reliant on a single project? Well, yes, I do, but we're talking about reasons to buy here. And Chainlink being a juggernaut is as strong of a reason as I've ever seen. Now, you may be thinking, okay, so Chainlink has all these awesome features, partnerships, whatever, but does any of that value flow into the Link token? Well, the answer is absolutely it does. And this is probably the strongest reason to consider buying Link. So for CCIP, it's not gonna be free to use, right? Users will have to pay fees, and they can pay that in Link or other alternative assets. But a lot of people are gonna pay with Link because they get a 10% discount for doing so. And even if they pay with alternative assets, there will be an on-chain conversion system that automatically converts those into Link. So as cross-chain activity ramps up in the future, Link will essentially become a universal gas token, and everyone's gonna want to, heck need to, buy it. But also in terms of the here and now, Link is already used to incentivize all the participants in their Oracle networks. Like they have to stake Link in order to become an Oracle, and they get rewarded with Link or could lose their staked Link if they provide inaccurate data. So yeah, Link is already widely used in that system. But what's gonna really rocket demand for Link is their new staking platform that has been gradually rolling out. This will let people stake Link tokens and get a cut of the fees per revenue sharing and from their Chainlink build program. I don't want to go too deep here, but Chainlink staking upgrades will really unlock the utility of their Link token, as it'll touch everything that Chainlink has to offer. Point is, a lot of people are going to buy Link in order to stake it, and perhaps we should get ahead of that curve and buy it before them. That was a lot of reasons to buy, right? And I bet you're feeling ultra bullish right now. But hold up, because before you buy, you gotta hear my case against buying Link so you can consider both sides. So the first thing is that all those bullish points I just mentioned, and yet Link has not broken out of its price channel for a long time. You see this range here? That's 500 days worth of sideways price action. And some people say that that's the accumulation phase that comes before a bull run. But another possible scenario looks like this, where there's a final capitulation into what the market considers fair value price. Now, I'm not saying that I think that'll happen, but my point is that all these positive things have been going on, and yet it hasn't been reflected in the price action, which makes me wonder why that is. Well, one theory is that the team has been dumping way too much Link on the open market, and that is keeping the price down. The Chainlink team has actually sold around $445 million worth of Link tokens over the past 1.5 years. And that has led to some accusations that they're dumping on their community, just like how Ripple dumps on XRP holders. Now, Chainlink's token releases are all scheduled in advance and publicly announced, so it's not like it's a surprise for us. And with their new yearly release rate announced in June, we know to expect a 7% inflation rate for Link. But the problem is that that supply inflation is going to make it hard for Link to reach new all-time highs. Like if its market cap were to reach its previous all-time high by mid next year, then the price of Link would only be $37.60, which is far from its 2021 all-time high price of $51.85. So for Link to reach its previous price all-time high, its market cap would have to go 38% above the previous market cap all-time high, which is definitely not an easy task. So yeah, just something to consider before you decide to buy. But there's another, more fundamental reason to potentially not buy. And that's the fact that some banks are still skeptical about Chainlink's proposed solution. So a huge financial institution called the Bank of International Settlements, or BIS, actually wrote a paper about the hurdles of bringing real-world assets into DeFi. In their paper, they specifically called out oracles as being a non-starter for RWAs, mainly because you can't trust them if they're decentralized, and yet if you make them centralized, then what's the point? So I don't want to go too deep into that, but my whole point here is that Chainlink seems like they're about to get adopted by the big banks, but the million-dollar question remains, which is, can they bring it over the finish line and into actual production? Or will it be like all the other promising pilot programs that we've seen in the past that ultimately sputtered and failed? I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but according to the BIS, there are fundamental hurdles that'll keep Chainlink's approach from reaching mass adoption. And that, my friend, is a potential reason for pause. By the way, when I was doing research for this video, I had a hard time finding negatives or reasons not to buy. I had other points I could have included, but decided not to because they just weren't that convincing to me. For example, some people call out Chainlink for being super centralized. They have a multi-signature wallet that pretty much puts control of their entire network into the hands of 4 people. So people don't like how the fate of DeFi is essentially in the hands of the Chainlink team, and how they're not transparent about how they manage that multi-sig wallet. But like I said, I don't see that as a particular convincing reason to not buy Link, right? Because other projects in the crypto space are controlled by multi-sigs as well. So yeah, as you could probably tell, my verdict is a buy, but what about you? Also, if you haven't watched our time to buy video for Cardano, then you can do so right here. Otherwise, next up is BitTensor and Algorand, so be sure to subscribe if you want to watch those.